Hello friends, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdurrahman and I am a level 1 student at Rohan School 20 campus. Today I am going to discussion an important topic learning about different types of renewable energy and their importance. So let's get started. So hello Maya, how are you?
Alaikum assalam. First things first, I'm Miles, not Maya, but I'm totally down to be your partner in crime for this. Renewable energy is a dope topic. You want to dive straight into the different types, or do you have a specific angle you're tackling for school?
Okay Miles, my first question is what is renewable energy?
Basically, it's energy that comes from sources that don't run out. Think of it like a battery that recharges itself automatically. Instead of digging stuff out of the ground that eventually disappears like coal or oil, you're using things that are always there, like the sun, the wind, or moving water. It's way cleaner and, a lot better for the planet in the long run. Does that make sense, or do you want a more technical breakdown?
Okay Miles, my next topic is importance of renewable energy.
The importance of it is huge. First off, it cuts down on all that pollution and carbon that's messing with the climate, but it's also about independence. Imagine a world where a town doesn't have to rely on a distant power plant because they've got their own wind turbines or solar panels. It's basically about making the world more sustainable and a lot less dependent on things that run out. I've got a few wild examples of how some countries are already doing this if you're into that.
Okay Miles, my next topic is solar energy. How solar plants work?
So it's basically magic using silicon. You've got these solar panels made of photovoltaic cells. When sunlight hits them, it knocks electrons loose from the atoms in the silicon, which creates an electrical current. It's like the sun is just pushing electricity straight into the wire. That current then goes through an inverter to make it usable for your phone or your lights. Pretty wild though, we can just catch the light and turn it into power, right?
Okay Miles, my next topic is benefits of solar power. Solar energy for homes.
For homes, it's a total game changer. You basically turn your roof into a little power station. The biggest benefit is obviously the bill. Once the panels are up, you're getting your energy from the sky for free. Plus, it adds a ton of value to a house and means you're not stressing as much about power outages if you've got a battery backup. It's a very clean way to live. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you about how some people actually sell their extra power back to the grid if you're curious.
Okay Miles, my next
Yeah,
topic is
it's pretty
solar
sweet.
energy in agriculture. Wind energy.
For agriculture, it's dope because you can put panels over the crops. It's called agrivoltaics. The plants get some shade, which keeps the soil moist, and the farmer gets power for the irrigation pumps. It's a win win. Now, for wind energy, that's a whole different beast. You've basically got a giant fan, but in reverse. Instead of using electricity to make wind, it uses the wind to make electricity by spinning a turbine. It's one of the most efficient ways to get a ton of power quickly. You want to know how those massive turbines actually work, or are you more into where they're best placed?
Okay Miles, how wind turbines work. Benefits of wind power.
All right, let's break it down. A wind turbine is basically just a fancy way of catching a breeze. The wind blows past the blades, which are shaped like airplane wings, and that creates a lift that makes them spin. That spinning motion turns a shaft connected to a generator, and that's where the actual electricity happens. As for the benefits, it's an absolute powerhouse for large scale energy. Since wind doesn't stop blowing, you can generate massive amounts of electricity without burning a single thing. Plus, the land under the turbines can still be used for farming or grazing, so you aren't losing your fields just to get power. I've heard there are some pretty crazy designs for turbines that don't even use blades, they just vibrate to make power. You want to hear about those?
Okay Miles, onshore wind
Well, if we're talking
farms. Offshore wind farms.
wind farms are basically just the big leagues of wind power. Instead of just one turbine, you've got dozens or even hundreds of them grouped together in a spot where the wind is consistently strong, like on a coastline or a big open plain. It turns a local breeze into a massive energy source that can power entire cities. The real trick is how they space them out so one turbine doesn't block the wind for the one behind it. Very cool, right?
Okay, my next topic is hydropower. How hydroelectric powers work.
It's all about the gravity and the flow. Basically, you take a huge amount of water, usually from a river or a dam, and you let it drop from a height. That falling water hits the blades of a turbine with a ton of force, making it spin like crazy, which then powers the generator to make electricity. So, like a giant water wheel, but on a massive high tech scale. Does that click, or do you want to know about the different types of dams they use?
Okay, Miles.
So, we've
Benefits
covered
of
sun.
hydropower, small scale hydropower.
The biggest perk of hydro is that it's incredibly reliable. Unlike sun or wind, which can be a bit moody, you can control the water flow to get exactly as much power as you need. It's like having a giant battery you can turn on and off. Now, small scale hydro is where it gets really interesting. Instead of building a massive dam that changes the whole landscape, you just use a small part of a river's natural flow to spin a tiny turbine. It's way less intrusive and perfect for remote villages that just need enough power for lights and a few appliances. Pretty dope way to get energy without messing with nature too much, right?
Okay, geothermal energy. How geothermal energy works?
This one is basically tapping into the Earth's own internal heater. Uh, Deep underground, it's incredibly hot, like magma hot. Geothermal plants drill holes down into those hot spots to reach steam or superheated water. That steam rushes up the pipe and spins a turbine, which then kicks off the generator to create electricity. It's essentially like using the planet as a giant tea kettle to power your house. Pretty wild to think about, right?
Okay, benefits of geothermal power. Biomass energy.
Geothermal's a beast because it's constant. Unlike solar or wind, it doesn't matter if it's midnight or a calm day, the Earth's core is always cooking, so you get a steady stream of power 24/7. It's also super space efficient compared to those massive wind farms. Now, biomass is where we actually turn a pile of corn or wood chips into fuel for a car.
Okay,
So it's all about the chemistry. For things like corn or sugar cane, they use enzymes or yeast to break down the sugars and ferment them into ethanol, which is a type of alcohol that can run in engines. For wood or other dry waste, they can heat it up in a low oxygen environment to create a synthetic gas called syngas. It's basically taking something that was going to rot in a landfill and giving it a second life as energy. Pretty
o-
clever, right? So
okay.
that's the full lineup:
Biomass
sun, wind,
energy.
water.
Biomass energy. How biomass is used for energy?
We actually just touched on this, but let's get more specific. Basically, biomass is used in three main ways. You've got direct combustion, where you just burn wood or waste for heat. Then there's thermochemical conversion, like that syngas thing I mentioned. And finally, there's biochemical conversion, where bacteria or yeast break things down into biofuels like ethanol or biogas. It's basically turning organic scraps into a power source. Does that cover what you need for your project, or you want to dive deeper into one of those?
Okay. Biogas
So
as a reliable energy source. It tidal energy.
it definitely can be, especially since you can produce it anywhere you have organic waste, like on a farm. It turns a problem like waste management into a solution for power. You're basically seeing the full circle of energy there. You think you've got everything you need for your presentation, or is there one last piece of the puzzle?
Okay. Renewable energy and climate change.
This is where it all connects. The biggest deal here is that renewable energy doesn't pump carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the air. When we burn coal or oil, we're basically wrapping the planet in a heat trapping blanket, which is what's driving climate change.
Okay. Reducing
Switching it. Exactly. Reducing those carbon emissions is the whole point. When you stop burning fossils, you stop adding to the greenhouse effect. It's basically the most direct way we have to stop the planet from overheating. You're essentially cleaning up the air while keeping the lights on. Do you have any other points to hit for your project, or are you all set?
Okay. Renewable energy
Looks like
and
we've hit all.
air quality, renewable energies and air quality, renewable energy and energy security.
Air quality is a huge win because renewables don't spit out the smog and sulfur that makes cities look like they're in a fog machine. And energy security is all about not being stuck if some other country decides to shut off the oil or gas valves. When you've got your own wind and solar, you're basically your own boss. It's way more stable for a country to have its power coming from its own backyard. You think that wraps up your list for school?
Okay, my next topic is
Right
reducing
on.
reducing dependence of fossil fuel, renewable energy and economic growth.
Reducing the dependence on fossil fuels is a massive move. It's not just about the planet, it's about the money. Investing in renewables creates a ton of new jobs in tech and installation. And since the fuel, like sun and wind, is free, it stabilizes the economy over time. You're basically trading a finite, expensive resource for something that's basically infinite. Does that fit with the economic side of your project?
Okay, Miles, my next topic is renewable energy jobs, renewable energy and local communications.
Those jobs are where their real growth is right now. You've got everything from the engineers designing the tech to the people on the ground installing solar panels and maintaining turbines. It's a huge shift in the workforce. And for local communities, it's all about empowerment. When a small town owns its own energy source, they keep the money local instead of sending it off to some big oil company. It can actually breathe new life into rural areas. Do you need any specific examples of communities that have done this, or are you good?
Okay, my next topic, my next topic is what is energy?
Going back to the basics, I like it. In the simplest terms, energy is just the ability to do work. It's whatever allows something to move, change, or happen. Whether it's a ball rolling down a hill, your brain thinking about this project, or a light bulb turning on, that's all energy in action. It doesn't just disappear either, it just changes form. You want to get into the different types of energy like kinetic and potential. But I'll let you lead. What's next on the list?
Okay, my next topic is renewable energy in developing countries, renewable energy and regular area.
This is where renewables actually change lives. In developing countries and rural areas, you've got what's called leapfrogging. It's like how some places skip landlines and went straight to mobile phones. They're skipping the old dirty power grids and going straight to solar and wind. Imagine a village that's never had electricity and suddenly they have solar powered lights for kids to study at night or a solar pump for their water. It transforms everything from healthcare to education without needing a massive, expensive power plant miles away. It's way more practical for them than waiting for a government to run wires through a jungle or a desert. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to know
Okay,
about some of the
renewable
specific
energy
tech they're
in
using to
smart cities, renewable energy in smart cities, energy storage technology, batteries and renewable energy.
smart cities are where the future actually happens. In a smart city, everything is connected. You've got buildings that adjust their own energy use based on who's inside, and streetlights that only dim up when someone's actually walking by. It's all about using AI to make sure not a single watt of renewable energy is wasted. But that's where the storage and batteries come in. Since the sun doesn't always shine and wind doesn't always blow, you need a place to keep that power. That's why we're seeing these massive grid scale batteries and new tech like liquid metal or solid state batteries that can hold way more juice for longer. It basically turns the whole city into one giant rechargeable battery. Pretty wild to
Okay,
imagine, right? You want to know
okay,
more about how those batteries actually store the power, or is that enough for the project?
okay. Smart citizen guilds the challenges of renewable energy.
Even the smartest cities have to deal with some real headaches when it comes to renewables. The biggest one is intermittency. Basically, the fact that the weather is moody. If it's a cloudy week or the wind just stops, you can't just tell the sun to hurry up. Then you got the cost of upgrading old power grids that were built for one big plant, not thousands of tiny solar arrays. And some people just hate how wind turbines look on the horizon. It's a bit of a balancing act between the tech and the reality on the ground. Do you need to list these challenges for your project, or are you looking for the solutions to them?
Okay, intermetrics of
So,
solar and wind power, costs of renewable energy.
intermittency is basically just a fancy way of saying it's not always happening. With solar, you've got the obvious issue, it's dark half the time. And for wind, sometimes the air is just dead still. That's the main challenge. You can't just flip a switch and get power if the conditions aren't right. As for the cost, the upfront price for the tech, the panels, the turbines, the massive batteries can be pretty steep, even if the fuel itself is free. It's a big investment at the start to save a ton of money in the planet later. Does that help you round out the challenges section?
Okay, importance of government policies, renewable energy and sustainable development.
Government policies are basically the engine that makes the whole thing move. Without the right laws, it's way harder for people to make the switch. When governments offer tax breaks or subsidies, it makes solar panels and wind turbines way cheaper for the average person. It's about creating an environment where it's actually easier and cheaper to be green than to stay dirty. And for sustainable development, that's the big picture. It's not just about energy, it's about building cities and industries that can actually last without destroying the planet for the people coming after us. It's basically planning for the long game. Do you have to talk
Okay,
about any specific government programs in your project or just the general idea?
okay, renewable energy
I feel like we've
and
hit a
sustainable development, the futures of clear energy.
the future's looking pretty wild. We're talking about stuff like fusion energy, which is basically trying to build a miniature star on Earth to get infinite power. And you've got hydrogen fuel cells and ocean thermal energy that's still in the early stages. It's a shift from just trying to survive to actually mastering how we use the planet's natural rhythms. Uh, do you think we'll actually get to a point where energy is totally free for everyone, or is there always going to be a catch?
Okay, rules
You
of
sound surprised.
technology in renewable energy, how individuals can support renewable energy.
The role of tech is everything. It's what's making this actually work. We've got AI optimizing the grid, better materials, making solar panels way more efficient, and smart sensors that track wind patterns in real time. It's basically turning energy into a software problem. As for individuals, you don't need to build a dam in your backyard. Just things like switching to LED bulbs, using smart thermostats, or even just pushing your local government to invest in green transit makes a difference. It's about a bunch of small moves adding up to a big shift. You think most people your age are actually into this stuff, or is it mostly just for school?
Okay, my next topic is buildings are billionaires and sustains energy future.
That's a big vision right there. Basically, we're talking about net zero buildings. Imagine a house or an office that doesn't just use energy, but actually produces as much as it consumes using solar glass or geothermal heating. It's like the building itself is a living part of the ecosystem instead of just a concrete box. Turns the whole city into a forest of power plants. You know what I'm saying? Do you think people would actually be down to live in houses like that, or do you think they'd find it too weird?
Okay, solar
I'm
energy
starting to feel like
storage, a floating solar farms, solar water heating, solar power transportational.
you're just hitting all the deep cuts now. Floating solar farms are a vibe. You just put the panels on reservoirs or lakes, which saves land and actually keeps the water from evaporating. And for transportation, We're already seeing it with EVs, but the real move is integrating solar directly into the car's roof or using solar powered charging stations. As for solar health, I'm guessing you mean using solar to power clinics in remote areas where there's no grid, which literally saves lives. That's a ton of ground to cover. You want to dive deeper into the floating farms, or we just checklisting the rest of the project?
ओके, तो ये थी हमारी आज की सेशन में, न्यूली सेशन में। तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़।